Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Knit California podcast. My name is Leslie. This is Buddy. This is episode number 9 of the podcast, and today we are going to be talking about my fall and winter knitting plans. I talked about this kind of in depth on the last podcast, but over the past month or so, I have felt just a drop in my knitting motivation as well as just my creativity in general. I think it's kind of related to this time of the year, end of summer. It's really hot out. But one of the things that I did to try to bring that motivation and bring that creativity back was I made a list. I made a list of about 6 sweater patterns that I would really like to make this fall and winter using yarn that I already have in my stash. This was another big part of the episode where I talked about this year has just been a yarn buying frenzy, which is okay, but I want to try to buy less and start using what I already have in my stash. I have so many beautiful yarns here, and it's time to start using them for beautiful projects. So, what I've done is I've paired up the patterns that I would like to make with the yarn that's in my stash, and I'm going to show you those today. These patterns that I've picked out are all I want to call them classic, simple shape, simple textured garments, sweaters. So I have, I think, 3 Raglan designs and 3 drop shoulder designs. And kind of my goal for this is to kind of figure out which pattern I like the best. There's a lot of simple, classically designed patterns out there. They might have slightly different construction methods or slightly different details that make them different from one another. But at the end of the day, how many ways can you really make, a classic Raglan or a classic drop shoulder sweater? But I've seen all of these, floating around on Instagram, on Ravelry, and one of them I've made before, but the other 5 I have not yet. And I already have yarn picked out for all of them. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start pulling yarn out of my cubbies, and this is kind of fun. I love playing with yarn. It's kind of going to be a nightmare to put back, but not really, because again, I like playing with the yarn. So I'm going to move this guy. This is one of them, but we'll get back to that later. The first one that I want to share with you. Actually, we're just gonna pull. Come back to you, my pretties, all my pretty yarns. Love it so much. Okay. See, what happens when you just start pulling stuff out of your stash is the labels all come off. Okay. Here we go. So, beep, 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 beep. The first sweater that is on my list is the Oslo Sweater by PetiteKnit. I will insert photo here so you can see what it looks like while I'm sharing this yarn. This sweater I picked out when I ordered this yarn, so I knew when I was ordering this yarn that this was the pattern I wanted to make. And the yarn that I got to make this is Folklore. by Sorella Yarn in Stellina sock. So I don't know if you can like see the sparkle on this, but there's like a gold nylon thread that runs through the yarn. So I got this on Stellina sock and on mohair. This is a 72/28 kid mohair / silk base. And this folklore color is, when I look at it, it's this beautiful, like really, really light, pale lavender color. And I love it. So this is what I'm going to use to make the Oslo sweater. So a couple of facts about the Oslo sweater. Where'd it go? It's a 21 stitch gauge, so I'm going to be holding this fingering weight yarn and this mohair together to make like a DK weight yarn. It's recommended 8 to 10 inches of positive ease. So another thing that I kind of want to do with this like journey of these 6 sweaters is try to figure out like what my favorite kind of style of sweater is. Like, do I prefer raglans to make and to wear? Do I prefer drop shoulders? What amount of positive ease do I prefer in a sweater when I'm wearing it? Those types of things, you know? I have about a 40-inch bust, so I'm going to be making a size extra large, which is number 5 in the pattern. I made a note here. So for a 40-inch bust, they would recommend a size extra large, but I think I'm going to knit one size down at a size large for a finished bust of 47.5 inches. I think my thought was the size extra large would be right at that 10 to 11 inches of positive ease. And I don't know if necessarily I want something that big. So we'll see how that goes. And the recommended needle size for this pattern is a 4.5 millimeter needle. Pretty standard. The last couple sweaters that I've made are on a 5 millimeter needle, and I really like that needle size. It kind of goes quick enough, but it's not like the fabric you make isn't too open, it's not like too large, too chunky, so yeah, that's great. But again, this is, okay, I'll have to say, this is, I think, is the first one that I'm going to cast on. I have been staring at this yarn over here since, what, February? I bought this from Sorella's Greatest Hits that came out in January of this year, and I've just been wanting to use it ever since then, and now we're in September and I haven't used it yet, so that's what I really want. I've also just like, so I'm making, I'm making the sweater number 15 right now, and it's like one strand of merino, one strand of mohair, and I'm loving the combination. The mohair just makes it so soft, so I'm really excited to try that with Sorella yarn. I haven't tried her mohair yet, so. The Oslo sweater is a drop shoulder construction, and one of the things that I really like about it is the neckband. You can see in the photo, it's just like, it's thick, and it like this way, it's like thick, and it just looks really plump, and it looks really cozy and comfy. So that's one of the things that has really drawn me specifically to this pattern. So yay, number 1. Okay, so the next sweater that I want to make is the Clove Sweater by Rachel Knits Things. And the yarn that I'm going to use for this is this. Isn't it gorgeous? So this is Barrel Aged Sour by Explorer Knits and Fibers on the Rockies DK base. This I got from her like Greatest Hits collection again in like January, February time frame. So I've also had this sitting around for months just staring at me. The Clove Sweater, here, let me hold this up while I talk about the pattern so you can see all of it together. The Clove Sweater, like I mentioned, is drop shoulder. This is a 22 stitch gauge, so a little bit tighter compared to the Oslo Sweater, was 21. It's a recommended 6 to 10 inches of positive ease, so kind of in the same ballpark, slightly smaller ease overall compared to Oslo. And for a 40-inch bust, that would be a size medium number 4 or large number 5, depending on if you want 6 inches or 10 inches. I'll probably swatch first to see how my gauge ends up. I'll probably end up somewhere in the middle. Who knows? It's always a journey when I swatch. And then the recommended needle size for this one is a 4mm needle. So I'm telling you the recommended needle size. I typically have to go up a needle size, but I just thought you would want to know what's recommended for the pattern. So again, this is another just like classically shaped drop shoulder pattern that I think is gorgeous. And this yarn is just this like deep like red purple wine barrel color that I think is so gorgeous. I don't know if it's coming out very well in this light, but I love it. And I've got 5 skeins of this DK, so it's 274 yards per skein. You can do the math there for how much yardage I've got here. Cool. Okay, so that's number 2. Let's see, number 3, and the last drop shoulder pattern that I have on my list is going to be, oops, this yarn is so good. Okay, this is going to be the Dear Duomo sweater by Seunghee Knits. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, and I'm sorry. And this is actually a more recent pattern that has come out this year. And the yarn that I'm going to use for this is Fia by Explorer Knits and Fibers. I've got the Cashmere Caverns sock base here. So it's a fingering weight cashmere. And you hold it double throughout the pattern. So I've got like 6 skeins of this here. I'm super excited to use this yarn. Cashmere is just so soft. And yeah, one of the sample knits for this pattern is made in actually the Duomo colorway from Explorer Knits and Fibers from her Italy collection last year, 2 years ago. And it's very similar kind of vibes to this Fia skein, where it's like on a super light base. It's got kind of those turquoise colors and like a little bit of a rusty brown orange, similar to like the Duomo in Italy in Florence. And so I just loved the look of that, and I thought this from the Ireland collection was like the next best thing. So again, this is a drop shoulder pattern. I think it's gorgeous. It has an interesting construction, which I think is probably different from the other two, in that it's knit bottom up. So we will see how that goes. But it is a 20 stitch gauge, so this one is actually the largest gauge compared to the Oslo and the Clove Sweater. And it's recommended a 6 to 8 inches of positive ease, so a little bit like tighter of a fit also compared to the other two. For a 40-inch bust, that would be a size 4. with a final bust measurement of 47 inches or a size 5 at 51 inches. And the recommended needle size for this is, again, the 4.5 millimeter needle. So kind of nice sweet spot there, with like a DK weight yarn, whether you're holding two fingering together, fingering and mohair, or just DK itself. So that's also going to be something kind of fun that I'm playing around with is, do I have a preference for like holding two strands of yarn together? Does it make sense like financially to buy, you know, fingering to hold double, to just buy DK, fingering and mohair? I don't know. I've got these sweaters, you know, I think are gonna all end up kind of similar sizes, but I've got different, I want to say, amounts of yarn. It is different amounts of yarn for each of these sweaters. So like for this one I have 6 skeins. In barrel age sour I have 5 DK. For the Oslo I've got 4 fingering plus 4 mohair. So you can kind of see like the cost of each sweater if you're gonna add up those number of skeins. So that'll be something else interesting to kind of think about and figure out when I'm done with all of these. Okay, that was number 3. So number 4, let me look at my list here. I am going to talk about, this is actually the newest pattern that I believe, as I'm filming this, actually, let me double check. Let's see, August 24th, 1 month to go. Okay, so this hasn't even come out yet. But it's on the list, and I will tell you why it's on the list. But first of all, the next pattern, so number 4, is the Semper Sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. And this is on the list because I follow Anthro Knits on Instagram, and I believe she was the tech editor for Sophie, the Knit Pearl Girl, for the Semper Sweater. And she mentioned that the Semper Sweater, number 1, was a great pattern. And she also compared it to the No Frills Sweater by PetiteKnit, which, spoiler alert, is the next pattern on my list. And she basically said, you know, the details of the Semper Sweater are just like a little bit better, this is like subjective, compared to the No Frills Sweater. And one of the points she made was that if you're going to make a classic or like simple shaped silhouette knit pattern, like go for the one where there's a little bit more, I don't want to say the wrong word, where there's just like a little bit more there, is kind of the gist she was getting at. So when I read that, I was like, okay, I gotta, like, this fits in nicely to my plans, my fall and winter plans. It's a raglan shaped sweater, so it's like perfect. It goes with the No Frills and the Cozy Classic Raglan, which, spoiler, is the last sweater on my list. And I love the Knit Pearl Girl and her patterns, so I would love to try this one out. And I also have had this yarn in my stash for a while, and there was a pattern that I wanted to make with it, and I decided to choose something else. And so it kind of didn't have a home for a while. I didn't have a pattern that I was gonna make. Oh, but he's gonna move. So I think this works out really perfectly because this will work for the Semper Sweater. So the yarn, isn't it gorgeous? Okay, this is from Long Dog Yarn. The color is called Rose Gold, and this is on her merino DK base. So it's 100% superwash merino. So I have 6 of these in DK, and I'll probably have some leftovers, but it's just like this, well, picking them all up is not always a good idea, but it's just, it literally is like a rose gold colorway. It's got pinks, it's got some speckles of purple, it's got the gold in it, and I just think this is gonna be gorgeous. So the Semper Sweater, let's see, it's a Raglan design, I think I already mentioned that. It's a 21 stitch gauge, so again, in the realm of what we've been talking about with the others. It's recommended 2 to 4 inches of positive ease, so this is the least amount of positive ease of any of the sweaters. So ease is always like subjective, like the pattern will give you a recommendation, but if you want to go up, that's your choice. You can choose to make a larger size to get more positive ease. So just throwing that out there. For a 40-inch bust, that would be the size E, which is number 5 in the pattern, and it's recommended needle size, again, of 4.5 millimeter needles. So I always like to give the, like, what number size it is in the pattern, because I can never remember, like, if a designer starts with size extra small, size small, like a 2XS, whatever. And when I'm going through the pattern, I just like count, you know, if it says like knit 2 stitches and then it says, you know, for each of the sizes 4, 6, 8, whatever. I just count the number until I get to which one, what size I'm making. And so if I know that I'm making size 5, I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and like find the instructions for the size that I'm making. It's way easier for me. So I don't know, pro tip, you might do the same thing, who knows, but that's why I give that size. Okay, so that was the Semper Sweater, and let's talk next about the no frills sweater. So for this, gotta grab the yarn. Okay. So for this, I am going to be using this. This is Pierhead Lights by Bella Filato Studio on her Bella DK base, which is a 75/25 merino nylon. And I have had this yarn in my stash for over a year. This collection, which was from her Great Lakes collection, I bought this the first time around. This summer, so like a couple months ago, round 2 came out. So I've had this for a long time. I have 6 skeins, so I've got a nice sweater quantity here. But yes, I would like to make the No Frills sweater by PetiteKnit with this. So this is a classic Raglan sweater, 21 stitch gauge, recommended 6 inches of positive ease, so kind of right in that range, right in the middle of all the other sweaters we've been talking about. For a 40-inch bust, that would be a size large, which is number 5. And the recommended needle size is 4 millimeter needles, so a little bit smaller needle size, which is interesting because it's a 21 stitch gauge, which is like the same gauge as like some of the other patterns. So interesting just to like compare all of them. You know, every designer is different, every knitter is different, so use the needle size that works for you to get the gauge that you like. Blah blah blah. Right? So yeah, this yarn is gorgeous. It's like it's got this light blue turquoise in here on like a base of like baby pink. There's like some dark speckles. I think this knitted up is just going to be really, really gorgeous. And the No Frills sweater, again, is just like very simple. Again, want to like compare it to the Semper Sweater, so we'll see how it goes. One of the other kind of like big parts of this is just to see like if someone's gonna ask for a recommendation on a sweater, let's say they really like a raglan and they want something simple, I would love to be able to say, oh, well, I've knit these 3. This one was my favorite, you know? So, all right. So that's number 5. Boop, boop, boop. Actually, let's compare. Look at this. This is Fia, and this is Pierhead Lights. Very similar colors here, so I think this will be fun to like compare these 2 sweaters when they're done too. Yeah, okay, and last but not least, this colorway, you guys. I know this is like a fan favorite. So the last sweater is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May. Where is it? Yep, there it is. Okay. And the yarn that I'm going to use for this is Court of Dreams, also by Explore Knits. I mean, are we seeing a pattern here? How much Explore Knits do I have? I've got 3 sweater quantities here. All very different too. Wow, look at that. That's a fun palette. Okay, anyways. So I've had this in my stash for over a year. If you've been hanging out on my Instagram for a while, you may have seen me swatch this already, which I don't have the swatch with me, but I swatched this a couple months ago to figure out if I wanted to hold mohair with it. I had this purple mohair that I thought would look really cool and like bring out the purple bits of this, but I didn't really like it. A lot of people on my stories loved it and they were like, you need to use that. I actually liked the blue better. Where is it? Oh, it's hiding in my mohair cube. I liked the blue better, but I don't think I'm going to hold mohair with it at all. I think I'm just going to do, this is on the DK base. I think I'm just going to hold it single so that the colors that are in this can like really shine, you know? Because I mean, like, look at this. I love the like turquoise, deep blue, deep purples, and if you don't know, this colorway is based off the book series, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and it means a lot. It's a great book series. I love it, and so I don't want to block any of the colors out of the yarn by holding a mohair with it, if that makes sense. Like, I want all of these colors to shine, because it is so special. So, okay, the Cozy Classic Raglan, I don't think I have said this yet, but it's an 18 stitch gauge, recommended 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. So on the like slightly smaller side of ease, but not as small as the Semper Sweater. For a 40-inch bust, that would be a size large, which is number 4, and it's a recommended 4.5 millimeter needle. So you can see like all the stats on these sweaters are all very similar. Again, I'm like super interested in the like different gauges. This one is an 18 stitch gauge, is the actually like largest gauge of any of them. And I will say I have knit the Cozy Classic Raglan before. I will put a photo. I knit it up in Sorella yarn Catalina, which the yarn is gorgeous. Absolutely in love with it. Do I have any? I have a leftover skein somewhere. I don't know where it went. But I will say I had some issues with this pattern the first time I made it. It came out way smaller than I thought it would. Now, I will say I had no idea what I was doing in terms of like gauge back then. This was last year, choosing needle size, like all of that. So I am looking forward to making this again, applying what I know now, and see if I can get it to be the right size. I definitely know that I need to like at least go up a needle size. I might need to go up a like size in the pattern. I feel like I don't think I'm going to be able to get an 18 stitch gauge on a 4.5 millimeter needle, especially because all of these other patterns are recommending like, or are saying like a 21 to 23 stitch gauge on a 4.5 millimeter needle. For most of these, I'm probably going to have to go up to a 5 millimeter needle anyway. And so if I'm not able to like meet the 18 stitch gauge, then I'll have to do some math, but I'll probably have to go up to the size extra large just to make sure that it fits the way that I want it to fit with the ease that I would like it to have. So there we go. I have 6 skeins of this. Here's 5 and 6. So if you're counting, you know, how many skeins for each project I have, there you go. I've got 6 skeins of this. And it is DK, so let's see, yeah, 3, so 3, no, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of these patterns I have just straight DK yarn. 1 I'm doing fingering plus mohair, and 1 I'm doing 2 fingering held together, so yeah, okay, that's that. Those are the like 6 sweater patterns that I'm mainly going to focus on. Now, in addition to these, there are some other things that I'm probably going to be making. The first is a cardigan. I shared this on the last podcast as well, but I really want to cast on the champagne cardigan by PetiteKnit using, I have this Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the shade Sailor in the Dark. Yeah, Sailor in the Dark, which is number 5581, I think, and holding it with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in Midnight. Midnight! Okay, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, she announced a new album is coming out called Midnights towards the end of October, so Midnight! Anyway, so I really want to cast this on because I would like a black handmade cardigan that I can wear to the office now that I'm going back in a couple times a week. So the champagne cardigan is what it's going to be. I can put a little pictures, probably already been there. But so this is on the list as well. So my like main dilemma is, do I cast on the champagne cardigan first, or do I cast on the Oslo sweater first? I am trying to be slightly more like one project at a time. Excuse me. I'm trying to be slightly more one project at a time with my knitting. Instead of having like a ton of cast-ons and like not feeling like I'm making any progress on any of them. So vote below. Which one would you cast on first? Okay, so that, and I've got a million skeins of these, both of them, so if you're doing the financial math, there you go. No, it's like 12 or 14 of these that I bought. And I have 6 of these that I got from a D-stash from a friend. So that was a little bit slightly more economical that way. So besides all of that, the other couple things that I like really have on my mind right now are a couple hats. I have been wanting to make the Oslo Hat by PetiteKnit for a while now. I think I have 4 like sets of yarn picked out to make this hat. In the pattern she calls for fingering weight held double, so I've got a bunch. You know what? We're already pulling all the yarn out. Why don't I just show you? Alright, yeah. Ugh, so gorgeous. So the first one that I really want to make an Oslo hat with is this. This is Woodruff from Explorer Knits and Fibers. This was from her Ireland collection, the first go around. And I got this on cashmere sock again. So this is going to be a really nice beanie. Very, very soft. So this one. This, actually, I don't want to make an Oslo hat with this. I want to make, I think it's the September hat. I'm not sure. It's a brioche pattern, but I feel like this would be a really fun 2-color brioche. This is, Desert Bloom, by Explorer Knits in her worsted base, and this is Untamed. I didn't realize how much Explorer Knits I actually have. Oh my goodness. She's, you know, she's one of my favorites. But I just think this would be a really pretty 2-color brioche. So that's one. I don't, this isn't technically like on my list. I'm not like dying to cast this on right now, but this is what this yarn is set aside for. So, okay. This is another Oslo beanie, Oslo hat. This is actually Sorella yarn. It's an oopsie, but I'm pretty sure this is an oopsie of North Shore from her Sun-Soaked collection. It's an oopsie because you can see some of the like white, the color isn't like fully saturated all the way, but you know, you hold it double, so I don't think it would be like weird. I think it would look fine in a hat. It would just have some cool spots where it's not all purple, but you know, I love the purples, so that's one. This one, which I think might end up being for Joel or some male in my life. This is Miami Fiber Co. This is from her Avatar collection. The colorway is Thanator, on DK. Oh, this is DK or not? Yeah, you wouldn't hold this double, but I might need 2 skeins to make an Oslo hat. I don't know if you can really see, but it's like this dark green. There's some like purple, turquoisey, blue. It's really pretty. So, that's that. So those are 3 of my Oslo. Oh yeah, the other one is this. That will probably end up being a gift. So this is the Sheepy Shire in sock weight, fingering weight, in the colorway Surprise Party. And I actually got this in a Mother's Day box from Twice Sheared Sheep. And I need to find somewhere in here another yarn to like hold this double with. And I don't know, I haven't like figured that out yet, but this cubby down here is like all like single skeins sort of, and like yarn that I haven't picked a project out for yet. So I'm gonna have to like dig through that and see if there's a good match for this. Otherwise I might need to just get like a neutral white or something, or like a pink, maybe like a pink Surrey, actually a really like fuzzy hat. That would probably be really nice with this. So anyways, I'm just like looking around at like all of the yarn that's here. While we're in my like sweater cubby, I guess I actually need to like move this. I'll show you this. I don't remember if I have like actual plans for this yarn. This is Ken yarn. It's called Raspberry Sunday, and I love it. It's this like bright pink purple color. It's on his Aurora fingering base, which is like 80/20 merino nylon. So I've got a sweater quantity of this. I've got 5 of them. So I don't know what I'm gonna make with this actually. So it shouldn't be in this cubby, because this cubby that I pulled all of these out of is just sweater quantities that I have a plan for already. I'll have to check my spreadsheet because I don't think I have a plan for this. So I'm just gonna put it back up here. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, and to be honest, there's like a lot more yarn here that I actually do have project plans for. And the only one that I can think of that like maybe I would try to do before like finishing all of these 6 sweaters plus a cardigan plus these hats would maybe be my a cumulus blouse that I'm going to make holding these double. So this is Studio, which, okay, this is a Sorella yarn fall tonal color that is back. She has this color back again. It's not called Studio anymore. I believe it's called Cottage. She changed the name, but the color is the same. And then this was from her Mayflower collection. Lost the yarn label in here. You Are Good for the Soul is what this is called. And I just think like marling these 2 colors together, it's gonna be so gorgeous. And this is on Surrey, so it's like so soft. And this is probably the one that if any other sweater happened before I finished all of these, it would probably be this, because I see a lot of people working on this right now on Instagram, and I love these colors, and I love this yarn, and I really want to work with it. So, but that's where we're at. If I had to like rank or like put in order the order that I would make, I'm just focusing on the 6. The order that I would make these 6 sweaters in would be the Oslo Sweater. So Oslo Sweater, then the Semper Sweater next, which one was my Semper Sweater? This one. Then the Dear Duomo. You can see based on like what yarn I want to use the most, right? Then the Clove Sweater. Then the No Frills. And then the Cozy Classic Raglan. But I am gonna need help because I think I'm like really bad at like making decisions sometimes. Just like figuring out like what I want to do. Once I've made a decision, like that's it. We're going with it for now, at least, until I change my mind. But I like to put a lot of thought into my decisions. So we know that the first pattern that I want to make is the Oslo Sweater. So the first thing that I would actually need help with, we talked about, is do I cast this on first or do I cast on a black cardigan? So vote below. And then as we go along with this, I'll probably be on Instagram asking for suggestions about like which pattern should I make next? Which yarn do you want to see used next? You know, that fun stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything. Let me know if you found this interesting at all. Let me know if you've made any of these patterns and if you have any thoughts about them, good or bad or in the middle. And let me know if there's anything else you'd love to see. You saw a portion of my yarn stash today, almost one full cubby. And I've got, 8 more cubbies. So if you're ever interested in like a yarn stash tour, we can break this down by cubbies and that might be really fun. So you let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and smash that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and have a great one. Happy knitting, y'all. Why would I say that? Oh god. Anyways, happy knitting. Bye. Okay, you're gonna come say hi. Hello, buddy. What are you doing? You can't just lick right in front of the microphone. I don't think the people want to hear that. It's a weird noise. Yeah? Are you still gonna do it? Standing by it? Oh, you wanna shake? You wanna say hi to the people? What do you think, bud? Was that good? Yeah? Did you want to say anything else? Or you just want some love? Okay, give me love. Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. Good boy. Good boy.